Welcome to this introductory video on adverb clauses. Let's first look at a passage to see where these adverb clauses take place and the variety we can expect to see in writings. This passage talks about hot springs or public baths in Japan. Take a minute to read it. You may pause the video here to take more time. The first instance we see mentions the place, where, referring to spas. And it is strongly connected to the information that follows, giving more information about the purpose of the spas, the place people go to relax. Concession speaks of doing an action despite another side point being true. Here, though introduces the side point of the fact that people like onsens in all seasons. But at the same time, they especially value them in winter. This can also be said with even though. As well as although. Time is another place where adverb clauses pop up. Can you find the first mention of time here? During introduces the period of time that onsens are especially valued. Another mention of time is when, and it is showing us the context of time during which one important crucial point happens, a point that we must remember or notice. Sometimes the adverb clauses are not as clear or plain to us because they are reduced. Here, completely naked is talking about a manner or condition of the person using the onsen. It is really a reduction of that fact, and it reduces the unnecessary words. The same is true for sitting on stools, which is also talking about the state or manner in which the patrons of the onsen are positioned. Finally, the third verb in this list also talks about what the patrons are doing. Notice that in all of these cases of the three descriptors that some might say they are adjective clauses describing the patrons who are naked or the patrons who are sitting and using something. However, they are more clearly talking about the condition or manner in which the action of washing takes place. Therefore, they are adverb clauses rather than adjective clauses. One more way in which adverb clauses are used describes reason. In this case, the head noun reason could be deleted, and the why clause basically talks about the reason their actions in the previous sentence of washing themselves outside of the main bath. One more reduction popping up toward the end is describing the context or attitude that the men have for the following sentence, where they are not paying attention to the elderly woman cleaning up around them. Finally, adverbial clauses that mention manner or the way in which something is done can be seen in words like as if, like, or as. Now that we've seen some of the context where these adverb clauses take place, let's take a closer look at what they really are. They are basically groups of words that function as an adverb. So let's look a little bit more deeply at clauses and adverbs. So, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. This differs from a phrase which does not have a subject and a verb, like of the work week. Clauses can be independent or dependent. There are two types of clauses. Independent clauses are called sentences as they can stand alone and express a complete thought. Dependent clauses, or subordinate clauses, are subordinate to something else, usually an independent clause, and depend on it for meaning. Here are some examples with the dependent clause underlined. You can see that each underlined clause cannot stand on its own, but it needs a clause to help it make sense or to help it complete a thought. Adverb clauses are clauses that function as adverbs. Since they are dependent clauses, they must have a subordinating conjunction to connect them to the other clause. Subordinating conjunctions can be arranged according to the purpose of the clause that they begin. Here are some examples of subordinating conjunctions. Time, with words such as after, when, until, and so on. Condition, with if, whether or not, provided, etc. Cause and effect, with because, as, since, and others. And contrast, with though, although, while, and so on. Here is one example of the clause beginning with whether. This adverb clause puts a condition on the action in the main sentence. Most of the time, an adverb clause will be separated from the other clause with a comma. Here's another example of a sentence without commas. This adverb clause modifies another adverb more. Since adverb clauses function as adverbs, let's look at the functions of adverbs. They modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. They tell us why, when, where, how much, how often. And sometimes they can begin a sentence that is a question and give more information. Here are some examples according to what the adverb is modifying. In these cases, they are modifying verbs. Here are some that are modifying adjectives. And in these last two sentences, they are modifying other adverbs. Adverb clauses can modify by telling the place, time, cause, they can also modify by demonstrating purpose of an action. They can show concession, and condition. Basically, they answer the questions where, when, why, and under what conditions. Continue with part 2 of adverb clauses to look more into the ways that we can reduce them.